All right. Well, again, good morning, everybody, and welcome to easyTithe Plus. We're very excited you're here. My name is Brad Hill, and I am joined today by Scott Yoder. I'm actually just the warm-up band today. Scott's going to be walking us through a really awesome demo and live peek at this great new product in addition to the easyTithe family. We're really excited to share it with you today. We are live. We've got a number of churches on the line today. I see Cherry, Cornelius, David, Elvin, Erica, Ethel, James, John, Kelly, Kyle, Lisa, Moni, Nancy, Nikki. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing names. Riley, Robert, another Robert. There's a bunch of Roberts. Stacy, Teresa, Victoria. So welcome all of you. I suspect we'll have a few more people jumping in as we go along here, but you guys were the on-timers and the early birds, so we thank you for that. We are going to, as I said, walk you through today easyTithe Plus. Some of you may have been seeing our emails or hearing about this, but for others of you, this may be brand new. So just to kind of quickly orient you as to what this is all about, I think most of you joining us today are already part of the easyTithe family. You know us and you trust us as the provider for your online giving tools, payment processing, event forms, text giving, kiosks, all that great stuff that really helps you maintain and sustain good giving and normalize, as we like to say, normalize that giving volume. Even as we're looking ahead here to summer, and a lot of churches and ministries have that kind of summer slump as people go out on vacation. You know, we have tools and recommendations and best practices to hopefully help you with that. So that's the stuff that we've loved doing for a long time. But we've also really had this strong desire to extend that and help you make the most, not just of giving and contributions, but actually communicate and track and interact with your entire congregation in a holistic way. And so all the great stuff that you know and trust from us here at easyTithe, we have now put that same spirit into this entirely new platform called easyTithe Plus. And it works right alongside your easyTithe giving. You can have one or both, but when you have them together, great things really happen. So that's what we want to show you today and give you kind of a sense of what this is all about. And I know that for those of you who were here kind of pre-event, you had the poll on your screen, and just looking real briefly down the results, it looked like we had a lot of you who maybe are using something right now to track people. It might be one of the older style online services out there. It might be some kind of software you run in your church. We run across a lot of churches using a homegrown solution, but we've had hundreds of churches already take a look at easyTithe Plus, use it, and in fact are now integrating it into their daily ministry. So we think that it's really striking a great balance and obviously meeting a need that's out there, which is really exciting for us. We could go all day actually showing you the features in easyTithe Plus, but what Scott and I wanted to do today was really just kind of skim the highlights and get you excited and get you interested, because really the best way to experience easyTithe Plus is to see it and use it. But what we want to do today for the webinar is go through a few of these key areas. We're going to talk to you about just managing members and individuals in your church and how we approach that in our platform. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about communicating with people, and we have a variety of ways to help you do that. We know that's a pain point for a lot of you. It's just dealing with emails and people who don't get their emails or prefer to get text or whatever. We've got some great answers for those things. It wouldn't be an easyTithe webinar if we didn't talk about giving. So obviously we are going to touch on how we integrate your giving into the database. And there's some really nice time-saving tools built in for that. And then one of my personal favorite areas, one of the most unique parts of what we've built here in easyTithe Plus is that you have a full mobile experience. You can literally take your church on the go wherever you need to do ministry. We're going to actually give you a live demo of the easyTithe Plus mobile app. We'll talk about taking attendance. We'll talk about child check-in and some of the great ways we can help you streamline those processes and make sure that families and people coming to your church have a great experience and they're safe. And then we'll also show you something that's a built-in part of easyTithe Plus, but for a lot of you right now it might be a completely separate product, and that is managing your calendar, managing rooms and resources in your church. And believe it or not, we have built that entire suite of functionality right into easyTithe Plus, and you get it all for the same price, which is a pretty cool thing. And as long as I'm talking about price, let's talk about that. Let's get that on the table, because we're actually really excited and proud of the pricing here. We think it's very affordable and very fair for all the stuff that you get. Basically what we do is we price easyTithe Plus on a scaling, a sliding scale, I guess I should say, and it is based on how many people, how many records you're going to store in your database. We actually have a little calculator that you can plug in on easyTithe Plus website, where you can see exactly what your price would be, but the pricing starts as low as 4 cents a record and is based again on how many people you're storing. For that price, you're going to get everything that Scott's going to show you today. We don't have modules, we don't have add-ons, it's all included, and also your giving is included. I think, as I said, almost all of you joining us today already have giving with easyTithe, so you're going to be able to keep the same giving plan that you have, or if there's a better one that maybe would save you money, now would be a great time to kind of do a little audit of that as well. The point is that you're not going to pay extra for easyTithe giving. That's part of the suite here with easyTithe Plus. We don't do annual contracts. We don't have anything for you to install, so you're not worrying about servers or on-premise backups. Any of that stuff, we take care of it. And the best part of all, there's no upfront setup fee whatsoever. So you can get started very quickly, very easily, with very, very little risk here. That's what we've tried to put together for you. So just before we dive into Scott's demo, I wanted to put one more poll up on the screen. We like to kind of get you guys motivated and involved. So here's a question for you. What would you say in your church is the biggest need that you have when it comes to tracking people? This is kind of a hard one, I guess, to make a choice, but we're trying to ask you, what's, above all else, what's the number one need that you have? So take a moment and click on your choice there, and then we'll see what everybody says. All right, votes are coming in. We're a little over half of you have voted. There we go. All right, people are finding the mouse. There we go. So we're at 3/4 of you. I'll leave it open for just another moment. And we still got folks joining us, by the way. Welcome if you're just coming into easyTithe Plus. We are about to start the demo, but before we do, we've got a little quick poll on the screen. So we'd love to have you tell us what is the biggest need that you have in your church when it comes to tracking people. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close that down. Thank you for everybody who voted. And actually, instant gratification here. Let me show you what you all said. So it looks like there's a little bit of a smattering of responses here, but clearly the number one choice, 2/3 of you basically said you need a better system for organizing individuals and families. We hear that a lot. And then I see some interest there in online giving integration too. So I realize that was kind of an unfair question, because I don't know if your church is like mine, all these things matter, all these things are important. The good news is that easyTithe Plus has an answer and a great process for every single one of these things on the poll, but we like to kind of force the issue like that sometimes. So thank you for participating and humoring me. So without any further ado, I'm going to toss it over to my partner Scott and give Scott the screen, and he is going to walk us through easyTithe Plus.
Okay, sorry about
Thanks,
that. So we're just on the login page here. But moving on, Brad also did talk about the iOS apps, and you're able to access easyTithe Plus with the iOS apps, which we'll touch on in a little bit. And then one question that I get a lot of times from trials is they're just starting up, churches that were just starting up, is importing data. So that is something that I do want to touch on real quick. We can import your data from your current system, and it's very simple and easy. You can actually do it yourself. And so that's something that is a great tool with easyTithe Plus. A lot of other systems out there, they have to have some sort of long, drawn-out data conversion process. You can actually do it very easily yourself, and we'll kind of touch on that a little bit today. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to easyTithe Plus here. Now, when you first log in, you will be taken to our search page. Now, we've just really, through a lot of different research and working with a lot of different churches, have found that the most, what you're going to be doing the most in our system, or in any system for that matter, is really trying to find people, search for people. And that's why we made the search page the very first page. Just a few things I want to touch on. You're going to see your navigation across the top here, which will kind of go through a lot of these different areas. And then there is also kind of system navigation down the right side. We also have a great help guide. If you click on the help button, which is a smart help guide, so it recognizes what page in the system you're on and brings up related categories and articles for that particular page. It also has our contact info here, and you can also submit a ticket from here. Our help system is a great little system that we're constantly adding to, and we have videos integrated into it and things like that. So I just wanted to show you that. So with the search, obviously you're able to search for a particular person, and it automatically updates as you're starting to search. But what I really want to show you is our advanced search. If you click on that advanced option, you have quite a few different options to search for people or a group of people. For instance, if you wanted to find somebody between a certain age, let's say between 20 and 30, we want to find everybody between the ages of 20 and 30. And the great thing about this search is that as you type, it automatically updates here. So we can see that group of people, and what we could do, say we want to add them to a group, or we want to print labels or something like that. Just a great, easy and simple way to search for a group of people. So that's really the search options that you have. Moving on here, I did also want to cover the individuals. Now, one thing that I want to bring to your attention, we recognize that churches have different ways of talking, and then different terminology and things like that. And so you're not really stuck to the name individuals. You can change this to parishioners, members, however you want to have that terminology within easyTithe Plus, you're able to do that. So the default is just individuals. So if you go to the individuals tab, you see a list of all the individuals within your system. You can also see a directory, and this is something that is enabled within the settings. You can enable directories for people to be able to see a directory or be a part of a directory. What I really want to show you, though, is adding an individual. Now, obviously, a lot of churches out there, I've worked with a lot of different churches, and what I found probably about 95% of the time is that most churches have a contact card system where for first-time guests, you have them fill out a contact card, whether it's in a seat back or whether it's out front in the foyer somewhere or something like that. Most churches have that contact card type of system. Well, what we often see is those contact cards kind of piling up on people's desks, and who's following up with them? How is this information being put into a system? Is it being put into a system? Well, this is really where you would add that information into easyTithe Plus. So you have a contact card, you go through, you're adding their information, first name, last name. You can see there's a lot of information you can add here. Another great thing about easyTithe Plus is you can actually add fields to this information. So if there's something in particular that your church wants to be able to keep track of, you can add those types of fields through here. So when you've finished adding somebody to the system, you can also add them to a group. So if you have, let's say in this instance, we have a first-time visitors group, we could go ahead and add them to that group to be able to communicate with that group later on and see different reporting, things like that with that particular group. So that's really quickly there how you add somebody, and that is the individuals tab. Now, if we wanted to also take a look at groups, really just real quick here with groups. Groups are what we do in easyTithe Plus. I know a lot of churches think of groups as like small groups or home groups or something like that, which we do have here in easyTithe Plus and is a huge part of our groups piece. But we also use groups for a number of different things. They can be non-small group related type things, like if you wanted a group of people that is just your staff, or like we saw just a second ago, first-time visitors or something like that. We can relate that to a group. If we wanted classes to be a particular group where we could record attendance for those classes and things like that, and send out emails, send out text messages and that type of thing for a particular group, we can do that as well. So when we first go to the groups tab, and again, groups is also something that you can change the terminology for. If you want to change it to something else, you can. But when we first go to the groups tab, we see a list of all the different groups. If we wanted to add a group, we could do so. And you would just simply put in this information. If it's a group that like a small group, and you want to put a description about the group, or you want to have the address and all that meeting information in there, you can do so. Or if you just wanted it to be a regular, like a staff group or first-time visitor group, you would just leave all this information blank. You obviously put the name in here, but you're then able to kind of edit some of the information about the group, what it's able to do, what its purpose is, and be able to allow people to add themselves, allow them to request to join the group. If it's just an internal group, then you obviously wouldn't allow people to just automatically join themselves. So just a few options there for adding a group. Now, with group aggregates, I actually have quite a few churches that ask me what aggregates are. Think of aggregates as a group of groups. And so we have a lot of churches that want to be able to record attendance, kind of drilled down, but also overall attendance for things like a Sunday school class or something like that. So for example, if you had a second grade Sunday school class, third grade Sunday school class, fourth grade, and so on, and you wanted to be able to not only record attendance for each one of those classes, but have overall attendance, that's where an aggregate comes in. So you would make an aggregate group of all those different Sunday school classes, and then be able to see that attendance and so on. So if we go back to the group page here, one last thing I want to show you, the group finder. This enables people from your church to search for a small group. If you're a church that's really big on small groups, or some churches call them home groups, or however you want to have that terminology, this is a great way to allow people from your church to search for a small group that's maybe in their area, or maybe the type of teaching that they want to see, or maybe it's a particular time of day or time of the week that they are able to meet. So this is just a great tool, which you can actually embed this area here into your website. If you have like a small groups page, that would again be something like click here to search for a group. You can embed this into your website, and people can just do this search, and then they can request to join a group by just clicking on join. They can also view a map of the different groups where they're located, and just a great little tool here to be able to see that information. I actually, in the past, have worked with a lot of churches that just have groups, and they may say, well, we're really big on groups and small groups and home groups. But they have a page on their website that's a mile long, and it just lists out every single group that they have, and it's just really a big eyesore to kind of go through and as an attendee and try to figure out, okay, this is a lot of information to read. I don't want to sift through every single group here just to try to find the one. And then when they do find the one, there's not really a great way to contact. You just have one overall person to contact. Well, this is a great way to drill down the exact group that's going to be perfect for this person or for this couple or for this family, that's going to be able to then request to that leader that they want to join that group. So, all right. So next, I want to touch on interactions here real quick. So interactions, going back to that contact card system, one of the things that we often see kind of falls behind is follow up with those people. Okay, so you have a contact card system. If you're disciplined enough to put it into your CHMS, whether it's easyTithe Plus or something else, what is the process for following up with that person, right? So we want to make sure that we're following up with that person, and we also want to make sure that if Joe Smith's mother is in the hospital, that we have somebody that's either giving them a phone call, or maybe we're doing a hospital visit or something like that. This is the area where you would be able to see those interactions, be able to assign an interaction and log an interaction. So we can see here as an easyTithe Plus, or I'm sorry, as a church staff member here, I don't have any outstanding interactions. I've actually logged all my interactions, but I can also, because I have admin access, I'm able to see all outstanding interactions in the system. So this gives you a great sense of transparency, and you're able to see all your different staff members, maybe volunteer leaders that have outstanding interactions that they need to follow up with. We could also see completed interactions. But what I really want to show you here is how to assign an interaction. So let's say you're lead pastor and you're kind of walking through the foyer on a Sunday morning, and somebody walks up to you and says that they really want you to pray for them, or maybe send somebody for a hospital visit or something like that. Or maybe you just ran into somebody that was a first-time visitor and you want to have somebody follow up with them. So we'll do that one. We'll say I want my Pastor Scott Yoder here to follow up with, we'll say, Alice Brady here. And we'll say Alice is a first-time visitor. And, obviously you could go on and say more information. You can select be completed by date. And then you can also have it notify yourself upon the completion. So we'll go ahead and save that. Now what's going to happen is Scott is going to receive an email immediately that's going to tell him that he needs to follow up with that particular person. And I'll go ahead and bring up that email. It just popped in my inbox here. And you can see this email has that information. And I can actually just click on, if I've gone ahead and maybe I sent an email or called Alice, something like that, I can go ahead and fill out a summary by just clicking on that link. Real quick here, it's going to bring up a page that's going to be associated with Alice, and I can just type in a summary really quick, and then I can say it was completed today, and then click save. Now, as that information is updated, it's live. So if I went to Alice's information page, individual page, then you'd be able to see that information, which we'll actually see her individual page here in a second. But I also wanted to show you here that Scott Yoder, the lead pastor here, actually got that information. And you can see I just did those dots there, but I can see that summary of what Scott did. So that is interactions there in a nutshell. Before I move kind of forward here, I did want to go back then and show you what it looks like to see an individual's detail page and log in as an individual. So if we actually go to Alice here, we can bring up her information. We see her individual detail page here, and we see that any groups that she's involved in, her contact information, and we see a history of interactions. And we see that one right there that we just updated today. We can click through on that. I can add any information if I want to, but I'll just go back to her individual detail page. Now with Alice and with every member, you can kind of go through and edit information if you need to. Say there's some information, say she ran up to you in church and said, hey, I've been meaning to tell you guys my address changed. Here it is. You can change that information right here. However, the great thing about easyTithe Plus is that it also has a login available for individuals of your church. And it's going to recognize, based on that login, their permissions and all of that information. So they could log in and edit and update that information themselves. We can also see any family, if she has any family in here who she would be connected with. Obviously, there's an interactions tab here. We can see different interactions that we just saw on her summary page. We can see also a history of attendance as well. And giving also is very important to be able to see a history of their giving, as well as this is also something that they're able to see when they log in and be able to print a statement for themselves. This is just their account information. So I have a lot of churches that, that are like, hey, I lost my password. I need to reset my password or something like that. You'd be able to just put in a customized password, or you can actually go down here and reset their password and email them the information. You can also assign particular roles to each person as well, and we'll kind of cover what roles are and the permissions and all that in a little bit here. But also, you can log in as this user. So if you wanted to see what this user sees when they log in, you can see that they have a very limited view. They can edit their information. They can see a history of their giving. And obviously, like I said, they can print out their giving statement, which is huge. I know that I've worked with a lot of churches that send out mailings. In fact, my church sends out over 1,000 mailings with statements every single year. Well, this is a great way to save money and save time by just making this available to your congregation to be able to go in. And this isn't just online giving. This is any giving that is inputted into the system, whether it's online or traditional giving. So groups, this is just going to take them to that group finder where they'd be able to search for a group and join a group. All right, so what I want to do next here, I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit. And Brad had mentioned the iPhone app. And so I do want to show you the iPhone app and kind of walk through what that looks like. So I'm just going to pause my screen for a second here while I bring that up. All right. Okay, so I brought up the iOS app. And with easyTithe Plus, right now we have iOS apps for both iPad and iPhone. And actually, in the near future here, we're going to be having a few Android apps that are coming out. But the system is also mobile web optimized. So if you don't have an iOS device and you want to use your mobile device, like your Android phone or a tablet or something like that, it is mobile web optimized, so you could bring up that custom domain in your mobile web browser, and it would be similar to what you're seeing here and have those similar options. So in the iOS app, again, this is something that is for both staff and members of the church. So you would have different visibility based on the type of login and permissions that you have. So I have full admin login here, so you're going to be able to see everything that this app can do. Now, if we just click on individuals, and just a quick reminder here, I do have my phone here in airplane mode. It doesn't have to be in airplane mode or anything like that. It's just I don't want any interruptions while I'm presenting this app. So if we go to individuals here, we can see a list of the different individuals. We can actually click through on an individual and see their contact information. Let's say I need to call her real quick. I can just click on that number and it'll bring up an option to either call or send a message. If I click on that address there, I won't do it just because I'm in presentation mode here, but if I click on that address, it's going to bring up that address in maps if you needed to know how to get there or anything like that. Details, as well as family. We can see any groups that she is involved in, as well as view notes, view interactions. We can also add her to our contacts in our actual phone if we wanted to. Going back to individuals, I can add a new individual from the screen as well. Let's say I ran into a first-time guest and I really quickly wanted to add them into the system here. I can do that. If we're let's say I'm meeting with John Alexander here, and I noticed that in his detail page here on the iPhone app that he doesn't have a picture. Well, if you actually just tap on that picture, on that blank picture there, you can take a photo real quick or choose a photo and upload that to his information. So really quick, that's individuals. I know where this applies big time is I've heard of a few different pastors that talk about how they are going to meet somebody for coffee, to pray with them or something like that. And they just really quick, I'm meeting with Jim, but I don't know Jim that well. And I'm wondering what he looks like. I'm wondering his information, that type of thing. This is a great tool to just quickly be able to bring that information up before you have a meeting with Jim. So going back to the main page here, if we go to groups, we can see a list of the different groups. We can also, if we click through, we can also see people that are in that group. And then interactions. Again, very similar to what you saw in the web version. You can see your outstanding interactions. You can see all outstanding interactions. You can actually add one and log one if you want to, or assign one. What most people are going to end up doing is, if they're logging something, they're going to log it from that actual person's page, rather than just bringing this up in here. So enter attendance. All right, so this is a huge piece of the app. I have a lot of pastors that I talk to that talk about how they're so much into small groups, but one of the toughest things is getting their small group leaders to record attendance, because it's such a pain. They have to write down, or maybe they have a physical sheet and they check off people and then they have to enter it into a system or something like that. Well, with this attendance part of the iOS app, you can actually just pick, a small group leader can just pick the day that they met, obviously their small group, and then they can just go through and select who was there, who wasn't there. Let's say that there was a visitor there. You could add that visitor, whether it was somebody that's already in the system, or if they want to add a new person as a placeholder, or add a full person. So a very quick and easy way to record attendance for a small group. All right, mass contact. This is something that we haven't covered yet in this demo. And mass contact is one of the coolest parts of easyTithe Plus. You're going to have the ability, and this is also on the website as well, and we'll kind of take a look at that real quick after we get out of this app. But one of the coolest parts of easyTithe Plus, we have a lot of churches that are like, we want to send out communication to our church, whether it's email, whether it's text messaging. You can also do voice recording. A lot of systems are able to do a lot of these different things, but it's something that's kind of, you have several different logins and several different areas that you're going to do all of these different things. For example, MailChimp or some other software that just does voice recording and a number of different things. Well, we've tied all that into easyTithe Plus, and you can actually send out an email to a particular group. We'll pick on the that college age group again, if I can find it. And let's say we just want to send an email about this upcoming weekend and just a reminder about something, right? So we could then also log that as an interaction if we wanted to. But we'll just leave that blank right now, and then we would just hit send, and that would send an email out to that whole college and career class. We could also do an SMS text message. If we wanted to send a text message out to that same group, you'll be actually assigned a number, and we actually have training videos on how to set all this up. But again, you would just type in the body there, and you can log that information, and you would just hit send. Also, voice recorder. You could record a message real quick. Hey, everybody, just wanted to remind everybody about this weekend. Don't forget to bring a snack for your small group, and I can't wait to see you all. And you could just record that, send that to the college and career group. They would actually get that voice message through their phone. So some great software and great availability of being able to mass communicate with people. So last thing on this app is the child check-in. Now, child check-in is something that I haven't showed you yet in the full web version, but I did want to cover this as long as we're in the app here. And very simple and easy. You have to be, in order to do the mobile check-in, you have to be within a half-mile radius of the church. And but a parent can just click on their child's name. I'm going to check them into the nursery, hit done, and they would just hit check-in. Obviously, I get this error that comes up because I'm not within a half mile of the church. But it's just a nice convenience factor for parents as they're driving into the church. We realize that, I mean, I have 2 kids now myself, and it's kind of chaotic getting just 2 kids out of our car and into the church. So it's a really great tool to just be able to check them in on our phone when we're pulling into the parking lot. So that is the iOS app. Like I said, it is something that would be tied to your custom domain, and it'll bring up that information. You'll have that login information, and it will also be available for members of your church, where they can do a couple different things like see the directory, do the child check-in, that type of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and pause my screen here while I bring the web version back up. Let's see here. All right. So you all should be able to see my screen again. Okay. So sorry if it seems like I'm rushing through this. I just wanted to make sure I'm honoring everybody's time. I know that we've set aside an hour for this. But what I do want to move on next to is utilities. Now, under the utilities tab is where you're going to see a lot of different of the, I guess, under the hood type things that you'll do, as well as some different items like inputting giving and that mass contact we just talked about, as well as child check-in. Let's go ahead and take a look at child check-in real quick here first. Now, there's a lot of churches that ask me, what do we need for child check-in? Do we have to have a scanner? Do we have to have this or that? We actually have a great data sheet that I always send out to churches that has all the information about printers and labels and those types of things. But the most common printer that we use is the Dymo 450 printer that works best with our system. But we do have a couple different options for printers, for wireless printers, mobile printers, and that type of thing. If you're going to be running check-in on a mobile device or want to have wireless options and things like that. And you can just hit me up with that information, but we also have that information, our help guide. We have information for drivers that you would need to download for those printers. And I always tell everybody, obviously refer to our help guide for accessing those drivers and that information. So you can set up different check-in stations. You can also launch this in kiosk mode, which I highly suggest. When you launch in kiosk mode, it's going to bring up an option to select the station, and then it's going to say launch the label printer application. I don't have a label printer application or label printer, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on next. And you can see down here that we have an on-screen keyboard. Now, with this on-screen keyboard, you can, I just brought this up so you could see what it looks like if you have like a touchscreen kiosk or something like that. But you can actually disable this on-screen keyboard if you just have like a regular computer or a manned check-in station or something like that, and don't want this keyboard up here. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and bring up that same family. And we can see here everybody in the family. So if we had checked in Crosby earlier, but we want to check in Jenny now, and we'll check her into the 4th and 5th grade Sunday school class and click go. Let's say there was some special information about Jenny that we wanted to add. We could edit a note and add her like an allergy or something like that we needed to add. We could do that, and then that would print out on her name tag. If we wanted to print a couple extra labels, like say there is also a diaper bag or something like that included, and we wanted to have an extra label there, we could do that, and then we would just hit submit, and then we can see that she's been checked in. So it's very simple and easy, and so that really is our check-in system. Now, there's a lot of different things that you're able to do, like adding a first-time visitor or adding a family. And let's say somebody walks into the church and it's their first time there, and they have some kids and they want to add them into the system, or they want to check them into the nursery. And it's a great opportunity for your volunteer to just, obviously show them the kindness and from your church, but we also want to capture their information into the system. Most first-time guests are obviously captured from contact cards or something like that, but a lot of first-time guests their information is captured through check-in, so that's always something to remember. All right, so back to this utilities menu, we see this mass contact. Now, this is going to be something very similar to what the app was that I showed you, and we'll have the ability to send out emails to groups. And we can also, what's different with the web version here, we can put in HTML information as well as attach a file. So something to kind of remember there, if you wanted to do like a normal newsletter type template or something like that, you could use this to do so. Obviously, same kind of methodology here with sending out a text message and a voice message. The difference here is that if you have a pre-recorded voice message, you can go ahead and upload that file to the system. So, okay, so one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning was the ability to import individuals and import your data into the system. This is very, very important because it can be very overwhelming to think about, oh my goodness, I don't want to change a system just simply because we have 15,000 people in our current system and I can't even imagine what it'd be like to transfer everybody over to a new system. Well, the great thing about easyTithe Plus is that you can do all of that in about 30 seconds. I actually, a couple weeks ago, did an import for a church of about 4,000 people, and it actually took me about 45 seconds. So all you would need is a CSV file of that database. So if you're working with like Fellowship One or CCB or something like that, I know with Fellowship One you'd have to request that export, but you can do that. And it's usually pretty quick that they get that to you. So you would just say, I just need it in a CSV file. And then you take that CSV file and you want to make sure that you're matching up all of the columns. So in other words, if the column for first name on your Excel file says something different from first name, you want to put that in here. For example, a lot of times it won't have a space in it. So you want to make sure that you're copying what is in your Excel file. You'll get a lot of errors and it won't upload correctly if this information is different from what your Excel file says. So you would just kind of go through and match all these. Obviously, we recognize that you're not going to have all of this like note or birthday or something like that. You don't have to fill every single one of these out. So when you're finished, you would just hit submit. You can also say don't update duplicates. So a great thing that the system does, it will automatically recognize if Scott Yoder is in your Excel database or your Excel spreadsheet that you're uploading into easyTithe Plus. If he's already in your system, it'll recognize that and it will not upload him like a new person. It will look at that information and see, okay, well, there's a different phone number here than what we have on the system. So do you want me to update this information? And you can just click through on yes with that. So great little feature there. Next, I want to go through input giving under the utilities menu. So with easyTithe Plus, and Brad had kind of touched on this at the beginning, we recognize that most, if not all of you, are probably easyTithe giving customers already. And you're probably wondering, well, what about my easyTithe giving data? How's that going to tie into the system? So it's a very simple process, and we'll actually walk you through that process. We have some great training videos and content on how to connect both of them. But for now, they are two separate logins. However, once you've connected your easyTithe giving account to your easyTithe Plus account, it will actually tie in. So if I give online via easyTithe giving, it's going to recognize that information, pull it into easyTithe Plus, and record it in easyTithe Plus. So that's how, as a church member, I'm able to see on the easyTithe Plus side, when I log in, I'm able to see all of my history of giving, whether it's online or whether it's traditional giving or anything like that. So you'll have that information. We have the ability, if you wanted to bring over all of your historical giving data, you can do that as well. You would just need to let us know. But that is how the two systems would link together. You can tie the funds that you have in each system together. So if you have a missions fund in easyTithe Giving and you've created a missions fund in easyTithe Plus, you can actually map those together so that when people give online to that particular fund, it's going to bring it over into easyTithe Plus under the same fund. But Where we are right now in the system is to manually input that traditional giving, like checks, things that are in envelopes, cash in envelopes, and that type of thing. So you're able to create a batch or choose an existing batch if you wanted to. We'll just leave that blank for now, and then you could select the date of the batch or of the giving. So we could say that charity here gave to either general tithes and offerings, or we'll say she was giving to the homeless fund an amount of $100. And then we could leave any notes on here if we wanted to. So if we wanted to just say it was check, or let's say we wanted to do check and put the check number in, we could do that as well. If we wanted to just say it was cash, or if we wanted to put an envelope number down or something like that, we could do that as well. So we could also add to those lines if we wanted to continue adding either giving for charity, or if we wanted to add additional giving for other members of the church. When we're done, we would just hit save. It's going to bring up this error that says I must choose a name, and I did this on purpose so that you could see the transparency in the system here. It's wanted me to make sure that I was selecting charity's name rather than just typing it in. It has to be selected. So that is really an overview of the utilities area of easyTithe Plus. And again, there's a lot of different things in there, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of those things. Last thing I want to touch on here is the calendar. Like Brad mentioned, this is usually something that's either an extra module, or maybe you have a separate software that's covering, and it's usually not something that's included in a system. I know with some of the systems out there, you can have a calendar and resource management, but it's maybe with a premium or premier edition of one of the softwares that we have there. And I love how easyTithe Plus is just one system. There's no additions. Everything is in one edition, and you get all of that with easyTithe Plus. So with the calendar system here, just a few things I want to touch on really quickly here. You can filter through different views. So if I want to see only the adults ministry, or I want to also see the children's ministry, you can kind of toggle, the different ministries that you want to see. We'll say youth and children are the two different ministries that we want to see, and we only want to see Sunday school ministries or Sunday school events. And then when we're done with that, if we wanted to save this view that was just Sunday school events for the youth and children's ministry, we can then save this view by just clicking on views and adding a view. Now, what's really cool is we can, I don't think I have this view saved already. I realize it's on a Wednesday that all of this is up, but I'm just doing this for presentation purposes here. We could just click on add, and then it's going to create an embed code. So if you wanted to have a special page of your website that just has Sunday school calendar, you can then take that embed code and put that on your website. More popular one would be like a youth view. If you had a youth page and you wanted to embed just the youth calendar on that youth page, you would just go to that youth view and click on settings, and then that's where you would find that embed code. So great little feature there to be able to add particular views and add those views to your website. I did want to show you real quick here, adding an event, all the different things that you're able to do. Obviously, you have a name for an event. You can select the date. You can have a repeat, set a repeat, whether you want it weekly or what day you want it to repeat, and that type of thing. If you have different campuses, you can select the different campuses that, or if it's not at the main campus, you can select the different campus that it's at. You can put in a description. Again, properties, that's what we kind of touched on a little bit ago. We want to say this is a meeting for the staff. We can select those properties. If we want to make childcare available, we can do so and select the time and put in any comments in there. Tech, if we need a tech person, let's say we need like somebody to run sound for the event or something like that, we can add that information. We can put in contact people here, and then also select a room. Let's say it's in a particular classroom, and then it gives us the availability to choose a setup. So if we have certain room setups saved, we can go ahead and select that setup. And we can also reserve equipment. Like let's say we needed a TV cart. Obviously, all of this information you're able to add and edit, and then we would just choose that. And then again, if this is an event that needs some sort of vehicle, like a bus or something, we could go ahead and select that. Now, with this calendar, you're able to have events be something that are requested. Like say you have a teacher or a volunteer leader that is doing a class and they want to request to reserve a particular room for a particular event. They have the ability to do that. Now, when they do that, you're going to get something. If you have the correct rights, obviously, you're going to get a pending event request. If you have the administrative abilities and the administrative rights, you can actually click through on this particular event and approve that event. So, so just a great way for people, for volunteer leaders and teachers and maybe even staff members in your church to be able to request an event, request a class or something like that. So going to the settings menu here, I just real quick want to kind of show, this is the area where you would be able, we saw those room setups and that equipment setup and vehicles and things like that. This is just the area where you'd be able to set all that up. I want to add different room setups. I want to add different equipment available to be able to request. And this is just the area where you'd be able to go and do that. You can also change and edit permissions as well. So if you want to add, the calendar has its own permissions. So there are some aspects of the calendar that you can make available to some people and not available to other people. So you're kind of able to change that information within the calendar functionality here. All right, so that's the calendar. And I am almost done. There's just one last thing that I wanted to show you real quick while we were talking about permissions. First of all, with the settings, with the menu down here on the right-hand side, this is where you're going to find a lot of different information about if you want to upload your own church logo, which by the way is it's actually only accessible or viewable when logged in as a church member, not a staff member. When you're logged in as a staff member, you're going to see this easyTithe Plus logo, but you can make a custom logo for people when they're logged in as an attendee. So a lot of different information you can edit. This is where you would edit that terminology that I was talking about earlier, configurable fields, edit information about child check-in, that sort of thing. But what I did want to show was permissions. So with the permissions, I often get the question, we want so-and-so on staff to be able to enter giving, but we don't want them to be able to do this or this or this. Can we edit that information or change roles and things like that? You absolutely can. In our system, admin is the only role that you're not able to edit, and it's just our default role. And so they have access to everything within the system. However, you can create other roles that you can make for people that maybe could be almost an admin, but maybe minus a few different things. Let's say you wanted to edit a particular role. You could go through here, and it's kind of a checkbox system where you can check off different things, and you can see it's very, very detailed on all the different items that people are able to do. And so you're able to create custom roles, and then you can add people to those particular roles and edit those roles as well. So that was just one last thing that I wanted to touch on real quick, is because I get that question a lot about the permissions. All right. So as you can see, there's still a lot of stuff that we can touch on, but that was really the bulk of what I wanted to cover today. And we are going to be wrapping up here. I'm going to hand it back over to Brad. I realize we have just a few minutes left, but I did want to hand it back over to Brad for some additional information. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And Brad's going to show you all my contact information and all that good stuff. So take it away, Brad.
All right, nice job, Scott. And wow, a lot of stuff to digest there. And the questions have been pouring in. You guys have been a very lively bunch. We like that. Very inquisitive. A lot of stuff. And Scott, I know you made at least 1 or 2 sales. I'm seeing people are like, I'm sold, sign me up. So that's great. But for those of you I know that are kind of thinking through all the possible machinations of how this is going to work in your church, that's why we created the free trial. And so that's really what we want to kind of end on today is just a reminder and encouragement for you to try out easyTithe Plus. We've been through kind of a high level, really more sales oriented demo today. And by the way, to answer a couple questions I saw, yes, everything that Scott showed today is real. It's live, it's working now, and it's all included in the same pricing. So although this is probably new to a lot of you, we've had easyTithe Plus out now for about 5 months, and in that time, I don't know, we've had hundreds of churches come through, try it out, and are now using it as part of their daily day-to-day ministry. So we really would love to have you guys check this out. And we've had a couple great ideas come out of the questions today. During your experience doing a trial, you likely will have some questions. And a lot of times, to be honest with you, what happens during a free trial is, number one, you find out how easy the tools are. And number two, you get a chance to really see how we apply these tools to the way we do church here. So we know that all of you do things a little differently, and so we very carefully designed easyTithe Plus to make it easy to use, and quite frankly, normally requires very, very little training because the tools are very easy. And that would especially be true for those of you who maybe have come over from a different church management tool. We know there's a lot of them out there, and a lot of them are very large, complex, and difficult to use. And so we took that to heart as we designed easyTithe Plus. So we want to encourage you to go through the trial. What we did, Scott just pasted a link for you. You don't maybe see it on the main screen, but if you go over to the chat window that would be floating somewhere on your screen as part of the webinar, there's a link there. But you can get to it even if you just go to easytithe.com. You can find your way to easyTithe Plus, and we would invite you to sign up for the trial there. Again, there's no setup fee for this, and for the trial itself, there's no cost, there's no risk, there's no commitment. And by the way, it takes about as soon as it comes into Scott's team, it takes them like an hour or less to set up a brand new shiny database for you to begin adding your things into. So very little effort, very little risk. But we really appreciate everybody being here today. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was encouraging and maybe gave you some ideas on what's possible. So we're really excited, if you can't tell, about easyTithe Plus. And we are going to stick around for a couple minutes to tie up any last questions that might be out there. And just to, on that vein, there were a couple themes in the questions today. I touched on one already, which is that, yes, this is real, this is up and running and available today. Number two, some questions about pricing. We would definitely direct you to the website. We don't have anything to hide. The pricing is very easy and very straightforward. What counts as a record? That was a question we had. So if you have a family of 4 people, 2 adults, mom, dad, 2 kids, that's going to be 4 records. So every person, every individual counts as a record. So you want to kind of factor that in. And I might also add that a lot of you, if you're coming out of an existing database, if you're a church in America, you have inactive people in there. You have people that are probably no longer affiliated or have moved on or passed away or whatever. And so just keep in mind that, anytime you move databases, it is a great chance to do some spring cleaning. And, factor that in for when you think about how many records you might be paying for and storing. We have a lot of tips and best practices to suggest to you along that line. But again, just, think about the number of people you're storing.